CBS Sports.
High drive, center field, hit the wall, grand slam. This is magnificent.
Got a fantasy question? Email fantasybaseball@cbsi.com. Get ready to win your league.
Where fantasy becomes reality.
Now here's Frank, Scott, Chris, and Adam.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Tuesday, June 29th. Frank Stanfield joined by Scott White, and we've got a whole hodgepodge of things to talk about today. Fun with pace numbers, the dropometer, trade talk, and much more. What's going on, Scott? It's only been like a few hours since we've talked.
Not much. Not much. Some baseball action. The couches are still there.
Yeah, that's good to see.
Yeah, nobody's taking them away yet.
No one's come in and stole your couches.
Not yet.
Not yet. All right. Let's talk a little baseball. Let's fire it up. What do you think, Susan?
Oh, my goodness gracious.
All right, Scott, I'm going to actually start us off here today. And we haven't had a negative, oh my goodness gracious, in a while, but I think it's about that time because your boy right here decided it was a great idea to start Matt Manning in the Podcast Points League. It turned out not to be such a great idea. 3 2/3 innings pitched, 9 hits, 9 earned runs. That is a 22.09 ERA for anybody who started him in a Roto League. He winds up with negative 12 fantasy points on CBS. Good thing I had Nick Castellanos have a monster game, literally, just to cancel out how bad Matt Manning was. So, not sure what I was thinking, starting a pitcher who had a sub 6% swinging strike rate with a 5.50 xFIP, but this is what I deserve, Scott. And I would tell anybody that if you wanted to spite drop Matt Manning, I have absolutely no problem with it.
Well, I don't know that I'd drop him out of spite, but I might.
Someone better available than Matt Manning. I'm certain.
I haven't added him in any leagues in the first place because he had an ERA over 8 at AAA.
Good for you. That was a smart decision. Why did I do that?
I don't know. Now he has an ERA over 8 in the majors with 6 strikeouts in 14 1/3 innings. You mentioned the swinging strikes haven't been there. He had 3 in this start on, 66 pitches. It wasn't good. Wasn't good for old Matt Manning. 75 pitches. Oh, even worse. Yeah, I don't know what's gone wrong with him because he was such a consistent performer in the minors with big strikeout rates. The ERA was always solid. It kept getting lower and lower. He had this supposedly great curveball that just hasn't shown up the time we've seen in the majors. I don't know what was going on with him at AAA to have an ERA that high. Also, the spin rate on his fastball is just dreadful. It's one of the worst I can remember seeing. It's below 2,000 RPM. And I think it was finally above 2,000 RPM barely in this start. But yeah, I'm not. I wonder if he's all there health wise because I don't really understand the collapse otherwise. But this doesn't strike me as just a player struggling to adapt to the majors because again, ERA over 8 at AAA.
Yeah. It's a weird situation for Matt Manning. And along with the ERA over 8 at AAA, he had just an 11% swinging strike rate in the minors this year. And yeah, he's not someone who had huge swinging strike totals in the minors, but every other level, he was pretty good. The strikeouts were also solid. So I know last year he got shut down at the alternate training site because of either a forearm issue, an elbow issue.
I think it was forearm, yeah.
Yeah, it was something with his throwing arm. So it's just pure speculation. It doesn't look like he's hurt, but the way that he's pitching, it stands to reason that something might be going on with Matt Manning. So in redraft leagues, if someone like Zach Thompson is available and you want to take a shot there, Kyle Muller, I don't have an issue dropping him for either of those. Do you, Scott?
Nope.
All right. Would you try to buy low in a dynasty league, or are you that worried?
I actually sold low in a dynasty league. I don't know. I don't know that I sold that low. But, the argument could be made. I traded him for two aging players on the wrong side of 30. So, but they're useful to me now. And I was willing to sacrifice Matt Manning because his future is looking kind of murky all of a sudden.
Well, how did Cleveland score all those runs? They had 6 hitters with multiple hits on Monday, including Cesar Hernandez went 3 for 5. Ahmed Rosario went 3 for 5. Jose Ramirez went 3 for 5 with his 17th home run. He added 5 more RBI. Harold Ramirez went 3 for 5. Bobby Bradley went 2 for 5. And a gentleman named Ernie Clement went 2 for 4 with 3 runs scored. Admittedly, never heard of the guy, so I had to look him up. 280 career hitter in the minors. He does have some speed, has absolutely no power at all. So don't really have any interest in Ernie Clement, but thought I would mention him because why not? He had 2 hits. All right, Scott. Oh my goodness gracious. For you, from one offensive juggernaut to another, what you got?
I'm going with Castanera. Kestenhira homered for the 3rd time in 4 games. And for at least the second time, I didn't see all 3 of those home runs, but at least for the second time, it was on a high fastball, which was the pitch that was just eating him alive in his prior 2 stints in the majors this year. He, in his most recent AAA stint, got the strikeout rate around 25%. It was only in about 50 plate appearances, so obviously not talking a huge sample, but better. And he talked about how he focused on making better swing decisions down there. And, obviously it's just been a few games, but 3 of his 4 home runs this season have come in those few games since he returned. Obviously we know what kind of upside he possesses, and he's available in more than 60% of CBS sports leagues, I believe. Might be time to take a flyer on him again.
Yeah, Castanera, 3 homers in his last 4 games. I think most impressive. Sorry if you said this already, Scott. I was looking away at the Astros-Orioles game. But among his 5 plate appearances, Castanera did not strike out a single time. So I thought that was most impressive for his game.
I didn't mention it. Thank you for the useful contribution to the conversation, Frank.
That's what I'm here for. Sometimes, something like that, right? Useful contributions. I'd like to say sometimes I do throw that in there, but 48% rostered on CBS, and I'll throw a few names your way, Scott. You let me know. Would you drop any of these players? Because I kind of feel like in a points league, I'm not rushing out to get Castanera because I still do think he's going to strike out quite a bit. But in a roto or a categories league, I kind of feel like if you don't strike now, you might miss out on the opportunity to pick up Castanera. So let's figure this out. If you play in a roto league, would you drop Joey Wendell for Castanera?
Yes.
Joey Wendell is 84% rostered, so that is pretty significant. How about Jeff McNeil, who recently returned, has not done much, but he did have a multi-hit game on Monday?
Probably couldn't do that, though. I'm a little more excited about Hira at the moment. I don't feel like we have as much reason to doubt McNeil.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't do it either. Would you drop Gavin Lux?
Yes.
Would you drop Nick Solak?
I believe I would.
I would
too. Pretty absent since April.
All right, so there you go. Some second baseman you can drop. Get Castanera on your team if you play in a categories or a roto league, because just in case he finds that old form, which again presented a lot of upside, as Scott mentioned. What else happened in that 10-run 8th inning that the Brewers had on Monday? Which was, I looked down for 1 second and it's like, okay, when did all this happen? Willie Adames also hit a 3-run homer in that inning, and he is now batting .286 with 11 doubles and 6 homers in 35 games with the Brewers. That is a 35 homer pace over 150 games. Willie Adames is 43% rostered, and I'm going to talk about him a little bit more in depth later on, Scott, but would you drop Gleber Torres for Willie Adames?
At the moment, I'm inclined to say no, but maybe you'll offer some compelling... You'll give a compelling argument later that'll change my mind. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to save it. It's a little tease for you. We'll talk more about Gleber Torres and we'll revisit this conversation. Willie Adames for Gleber Torres. But Adames, if you are in desperate need of a shortstop, he's playing very well since he has joined the Milwaukee Brewers. Before we hit the news and notes, just want to remind everybody that you can join our Fantasy Baseball Today Facebook group. That's facebook.com/groups/fantasy baseball today. And there's a lot of conversation going on there. If we can't get to your questions, because we do get asked a lot of questions both via email and via Twitter, which we try to answer as many of them as we can. But if you have a question, you could bring it there and have a discussion with other listeners, people who watch the show on YouTube and stuff. So it's a really fun group. Check it out on Facebook. And of course, you could sign up for our newsletter, which is free. CBSSports.com/newsletters. You can find all of the CBS Sports newsletters there. Fantasy Football Today, which Chris writes, does a great job with. Fantasy Baseball Today, myself and Dan Schneier, we kind of tag team that. It's a lot of the things that we talk about on the podcast. So if you want to kind of read it while you're listening to the podcast, you could do that. Again, CBSSports.com/newsletters. It is free. News and notes from Monday. Ketel Marte was placed on the IL with a left hamstring strain, retroactive to June 27th. And this is his other hamstring. So he had an IL stint earlier in the year where he missed like 6 weeks. It was pretty lengthy absence. That was for his right hamstring. Now his left hamstring. So maybe he was overcompensating or something. I don't know. It sucks. But Ketel Marte, whenever he's played this year, has been really good. So that's what makes it even more frustrating. Mike Trout was transferred to the 60-day IL. The move does not have much of an impact on Trout's recovery timeline. He will not be eligible to return until July 17th, which is right after the All-Star break anyway, which is pretty much the timeline we've had for Mike Trout all along. Shane Bieber had a quick examination that went well on Monday. He'll have a follow-up in the next few days that should reveal more about his timeline. Again, Shane Bieber is on the IL with that strained right shoulder. So hopefully getting some more news soon on Bieber. We did get some news on Corey Seager. Not good news. He has been experiencing soreness when swinging a bat and has been shut down from hitting for now. Rough scene. Sonny Gray plans to start Friday's game against the Cubs. Scott, if you play in a daily lineup league, would you feel okay getting Sonny Gray back in the lineup, his first start against the Cubs?
I would rather not do that. It's not like he was lights out before going on the IL. Let's give him a chance to prove himself all over again.
Oh my, and the Baltimore Orioles are trying to find a way to blow this game. Right before we started, telling Scott, my boy Paul Fry is in the game. He's going to get a win. He still might get a win, but man, really just kind of blew up here in the ninth. So we will update you on that as it goes along. Anthony Rizzo with his back and Colton Wong with his calf. They remain out of their respective lineups on Monday. Fran Mo Reyes is expected to return Saturday against the Astros. He is 78% rostered and had 11 home runs in 40 games before going on the IL. That is a 41 homer pace over 150 games. Scott, would you be sending some buy lowish offers out for Fran Mo Reyes right now if you needed power?
That doesn't seem like a bad idea. I think the power output was legit, and it happened during a time of year when it was harder to hit than it is now. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's not a bad idea to check and see what the cost is.
Dylan Bundy left Monday's game against the Yankees due to heat exhaustion, and I'm not sure if anyone else caught this, but he threw up on the mound. And if you're watching the game, there's actually somebody behind home plate holding up his year-long ERA, and that's what made him throw up, Scott. Yeah.
Yeah, I threw up when I realized how many leagues I drafted him in.
Gosh, Dylan Bundy.
It was funny, the video, like everybody at home plate scattered when he threw up. They just dispersed. The umpire went one way, the batter went another.
Yeah. I hope the guy's all right, honestly. And it's like Chris and I were joking around earlier. We were doing the live stream Q&A here on YouTube. And we were talking about how hot it was in New York on Monday, and it was like 95 degrees out. So, yeah, it was a rough scene there for Dylan Bundy. I hope the guys are right, but it's been a really rough year for him. Lucas Giolito and the White Sox versus Kenta Maeda and the Twins was postponed on Monday due to rain. That is now the second time in a row Kenta Maeda's start has been pushed back. Marcus Stroman was placed on the bereavement list, but is still expected to start Saturday against the Yankees. Brandon Nimmo was originally supposed to return Tuesday, but will now continue his rehab assignment to get more at-bats. He's still 60% rostered, which I thought was very high, so
I was surprised too.
Someone out there really likes Brandon Nimmo. Lots of Mets fan maybes. Mets fan maybe. Kyle Freeland was removed from his start Monday with a hamstring injury. And he was actually pitching pretty well against the Pirates. 5 shutout with 7 strikeouts. He had 12 swinging strikes at the time on 79 pitches. And he's allowed 1 earned run over his last 2 starts. His slider usage is way up. So not saying there's anything there with Kyle Freeland. He's only 6% rostered, but throw him on the scout team. Let's see if there's
really both of the breaking ball, slider and curveball, these last 2 starts. He's really leaned into those. So it's always interesting when you see a pitcher's effectiveness coincide with a pitch selection change like that.
Yeah, Kyle Freeland. Throw him on the scout team. The Phillies hope to activate Gene Segura ahead of Tuesday's game against the Marlins. He is very quietly batting .332 with 3 homers and 6 steals on the season. Again, that is Gene Segura. Willie Calhoun will undergo surgery on his fractured left forearm on Tuesday. It's been a rough couple of years for Willie in terms of bad luck getting hit by pitches, I would say. Harrison Bader will continue his rehab assignment with AAA Memphis on Tuesday. He did have 4 homers and 3 steals in 22 games this season and is 10% rostered for those in deeper leagues. 5 outfielders, deeper than 12 teams, whatever. Harrison Bader. Some prospect updates. Mariners super prospect Julio Rodriguez was promoted to AA. He was batting .325 with 6 homers, 5 steals in 28 games at high A ball. He is only 20 years old. I don't think we're going to see Julio Rodriguez this year, Scott, but it would not surprise me if by next year he's the number 1 prospect in baseball entering.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. I mean, I suspect Franco and Kelnick will have graduated by then, and really who else is in the discussion? Adley Rutschman maybe, but certainly for lists that are geared more toward fantasy, those tend to push down the catchers a bit. So yeah, I would say it's very likely Julio Rodriguez is number 1 heading into next year.
Cardinals prospect Nolan Gorman was promoted to AAA. He was batting .288 with 11 homers, 27 RBI, and 4 steals in 43 games at AA. Yankees 18-year-old outfield prospect Jason Dominguez. You probably heard the name. He is a long ways away, so just keep that in mind. I mean, we're talking like 3 or 4 years from now. He was finally assigned to a level. He went to rookie ball in the Florida Complex League.
Oh, yeah. We've been hyping him for years, it feels like, and he has yet to play a minor league game. So
yeah, he made
looking forward to it.
I think he went 0 for 2 with a walk and a strikeout, but yeah, I mean, he's just starting rookie ball now. He was signed when he was 16 years old. So people have labeled him the next Mike Trout, which is like completely unrealistic and unfair to him, but he's apparently this crazy level athlete in the form of like a Bo Jackson, Mickey Mantle. That's what I've read about Jason Dominguez. And Tampa Bay Rays prospect Shane Baz pitched 5 shutout with 10 strikeouts at AAA on Sunday. Talked about Luis Patino yesterday. So the Rays are going to have some spots to fill in their rotation if they want to make a deep run this year. Maybe they give some of these young guys a chance. So Shane Baz, a name to pay attention to, Luis Patino, and Joe Ryan, though Joe Ryan does not have the same level of prospect pedigree as those other 2. The email of the day from Aaron. Do you think it's a good idea to try and sell high on Trevor Story before the trade deadline? I know he has a higher roto floor than most Rockies because of the steals, and I'm not sure if leaving Coors will be offset by joining a stronger lineup elsewhere. Now, it's not a sure thing that Trevor Story gets dealt before the MLB trade deadline, but he's already kind of hinted that he doesn't want to re-sign with the Colorado Rockies. So it would, I guess, make sense for them to at least shop around and see. Like, I've seen like the Oakland A's as a possibility, which would be a terrible park shift for him, but complete like speculation. Someone brought up the Yankees, but it's like they have way more issues than like trying to get Trevor Story right now and figure out that logjam. So I don't think that's realistic. We'll see what happens. But
I've seen the Brewers too, which wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, no, I mean, that would actually be not as good as Coors Field, but would be better than Oakland for sure. Last 15 games for Trevor Story, he's batting .286 with 4 homers and 6 steals. So is indeed coming around. Scott, what do you think about this idea, trying to sell high on Story? Because as we've seen with other players, DJ LeMahieu, Matt Holliday, they leave Colorado. They were perfectly fine until this year for LeMahieu. Nolan Arenado this year, first season out of Colorado. He's in St. Louis. kind of been an up and down season for him. Trevor Story, like the rest of them, has huge home road splits in his career. So what do you think?
Well, he's not exactly cooperating with the sell high idea because obviously hasn't performed anywhere near the level of the past 3 years. And we all think if he stays in Colorado that he'll get back there. There's not anything, there are no major red flags or anything to lead you to believe he's a different player now. But that's generally not how the conversation goes when you're talking trades. Yeah, I mean, it would be foolish for the Rockies to hold on to him because he's a free. Well, foolish. I mean, obviously they would offer him a I forget what the term is, but where they get a compensation pick if he goes elsewhere. So there have been so many lowball offers for star players on expiring deals in recent years that I guess it's possible they'll just get lowballed and be better off holding on to him and just getting a pick out of it after the season's over. But it still stands to reason they will probably get more in an actual trade. And there's obviously no controlling where he goes. It's not going to be as favorable as Colorado, wherever it is. Mm-hmm. So it's not a bad idea, but I'm putting together an article, the first 2 rounds for the rest of the season. And I still have Trevor Story as a second rounder if we're redrafting today for the rest of the season. Now, if he was for sure out of Colorado, maybe he wouldn't be as high as a second rounder, but still, I value him highly enough that you should get something really good in return. So if you are interested in shopping him, that should be your mindset.
And for this season, Trevor Story's home road splits, he's got an 878 OPS in Coors. He's got a 647 OPS on the road for his career. That's 982 in Coors Field. That is 750 on the road. So it's not as simple as just saying Trevor Story is going to be a 750 OPS bat wherever he goes if he leaves Colorado. But, it's probably somewhere in between there. 825, 850. Maybe he kind of settles in there as still like a 25-25 type bat, which is a very valuable hitter. A lot like we said about Arenado, but he's just not going to be as good. I feel comfortable saying that.
It might be that he's like Bo Bichette, frankly. I mean, you look at Bo Bichette, he's batting 281 with 14 homers, 12 steals. So about a 30-25 pace with only an 807 OPS. Yeah. So I don't know. I'd probably pick Bichette to best Story in batting average, post-core Story in batting average, but not by that much.
If you were shopping Trevor Story for a starting pitcher, Scott, you're trying to get one of your top 10, top 5. What's realistic?
A pitcher for Story, you're saying?
Yeah.
Top 10.
Top 10?
Yeah.
So, okay. Like if you can get a Bauer or a Giolito or Zach Wheeler or Corbin Burns, you're cool with that?
Maybe not Burns, but those others sound fine. I've got some concerns about Burns, multiple concerns.
Yep. All right. On the hitter front, give you a few names. Would you trade Trevor Story for Bryce Harper?
I don't think so. I don't know why. He's just been banged up so much lately. I don't have a ton of confidence in Harper right now, and maybe that's not reasonable, but yeah, I have a hard time getting excited about that deal.
All right, 2 more names I'll give you, and then we'll move on. Kyle Tucker and Cody Bellinger. Would you trade a Story for either?
Well, I'm ranking him ahead of both rest of season, so I think it's reasonable. I think those are all reasonable deals, but personally, I don't think I would.
All right, so if you are trading Trevor Story, aim high, but if he's moved, maybe we're looking at a Bo Bichette type outcome. And, granted, Bo Bichette, I think it's actually a really good comp, Scott, because while his OPS is not high, because he's in the Blue Jays lineup, his counting stats are so massive. And I'm about to talk about those in just a second. Fun with pace numbers. But if Trevor Story were to go to, a Milwaukee Brewers or Oakland A's lineup, those lineups are really good. I think even like San Francisco, someone threw out San Francisco, while Like, we don't view the Giants as a good lineup. They are a really good lineup this year.
Yeah, well, it's obviously a tough environment.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you raise a good point. Even looking at this exercise I'm doing, drafting the first 2 rounds for rest of season, I actually have Bichette ahead of Story. In even with Story still in Colorado for now. So, yeah, I think I don't know. The counting stats for Bichette, obviously, he stands out with those, as you pointed out. But just in terms of like ratios, I think my expectations for Story would be similar.
All right. Let's move on to some fun with pace numbers. And I really think there's kind of like a top 5 hitter. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but like Ohtani, Vlad Jr., Fernando Tatis, Ronald Acuna. Who else am I missing? I guess it's top 4, right? That makes sense. Yeah, we'll go with 4. But anyway, Shohei Ohtani, his first at bat in Yankee Stadium, hits his 26th home run of the season. He's currently on pace for 52 homers. We're right around like the 75 game mark at this point. So for a lot of these, I've just like doubled their production to this point. Because I'm not assuming anyone's going to play 162 games, but 150 seems like a reasonable expectation. Shohei Ohtani on pace for 52 homers, 220 runs plus RBI, and 22 steals. The guy is otherworldly. Vlad Jr. also has 26 homers. He leads the league with 66 RBI. He's on pace for 52 homers and 132 RBI for Vlad Jr. Fernando Tatis. This one is, Scott, this is just bonkers because, mind you, he's only played 61 games because he had that IL stint earlier in the year where he missed minimal time. Fernando Tatis has 25 homers and 16 steals in 61 games. Now, he's not going to get to 150 games this year, but his 150 game pace is 61 home runs and 39 steals for Fernando Tatis.
Man,
it is otherworldly what he is doing right now. Like,
that is unbelievable.
Shoulder injury does not matter. He's made up for everything that he's done in the field, by the way, because like defensively, he's been an absolute mess. But offensively,
I was noticing Tatis had the highest point per game average, with Vladimir Guerrero being second. Yeah, that's the only issue with him is we get these bi-monthly freakouts over his shoulder. Oh, he left the game again because that shoulder's acting up.
Yeah.
And that makes me want to discount him a little, at least. So, spoiler alert, he's actually 3rd in my rest of season, drafting for the rest of season column.
Yeah, he's kind of like the hitter version of Jacob deGrom in that way, right? Where we kind of always have that lurking over our heads when it comes to Fernando Tatis. Bo Bichette, who I wanted to mention, another shortstop here, 150 game pace right now, 28 homers, 100 RBI, 24 steals, 128 runs scored. Bo Bichette currently leads baseball in runs scored. So that whole Blue Jays lineup and George Springer just joining them now. It's fun. It's a good time to be a Toronto Blue Jays fan for sure. Some pace numbers based on players who had big games on Monday. Kyle Schwarber, another double dong. This guy's every day we talk about Kyle Schwarber. I don't know, like, what else are we going to say about him at this point? He's now up to 24 home runs on the season. He has 15 in the month of June alone.
He has 11 in his last 9 games.
Unreal. I mean, it helps, I guess, when you're facing Jared Eichhoff, but gosh, he's on pace for 48 home runs. That's Kyle Schwarber. I would have to imagine he's going to slow down, but it wouldn't surprise me if he kind of settles in somewhere as like 35, 40 homers, 250, 260 batting average.
Yeah, I mean, he was 38 2 years ago. So I would, if you're saying 40, he finishes this year with 40, you're setting that as the over-under. I'd take the over. Not by much. I don't think he's going to finish with 48 either, but 41, 42 seems within the realm of possibility for sure.
Nick Castellanos went 3 for 5 with a grand slam and 7 RBI on Monday. He had his 15th home run of the season. The slugging has dropped off a little bit in June, but he's still batting .345 overall. And Castellanos is on pace for 30 homers and 100 RBI. Actually, a little bit underwhelming when I looked into that, but the fact that he's hitting almost 350 is just outstanding.
He's had, I think this was only his 3rd home run of June.
Yep.
So he's had a powerless June for some reason, but still hit for plenty of average.
Whit Merrifield went 3 for 5 with his 7th homer, and he is actually mashing again in June. He's batting .349 after Monday's action this month, on pace for 14 home runs and 42 steals with 190 runs plus RBI for Whit Merrifield. I would take the under on 42 steals. Whit Merrifield actually getting there, but he is far and away the biggest contributor in that category and plays for a team that is not going to limit him on the base path. So definitely helps there for Whit Merrifield. And then Cedric Mullins, who I just want to give another shout out to. The guy is just having a ridiculous year. 2 for 4 with 2 more steals. He's now up to 14 stolen bases for the season. He's batting .313, add in 13 homers. He's on pace for 26 homers, 28 steals. He bailed on switch hitting coming into the year. Cedric Mullins did. And even with that, only batting left-handed, he's hitting .313 against lefties. And just his quality of contact is way up. He's hitting way less pop-ups this year than ever before. So just really squaring the ball up. And I wonder if we see more hitters start to go down this route of just bailing on the switch hitting and just bat left-handed and kind of figure it out. Maybe just focusing on one side of the plate that'll help them play better against left-handed pitchers. But
it's very much on trend with what we see at every other aspect of baseball, where you just try to maximize what you're already good at, as opposed to designing yourself for well-roundedness. It's I'm surprised it hasn't already happened, given the way the game is trending, that, you know, switch hitting hasn't already fallen by the wayside, because the more time you spend focusing on batting from one side of the plate, the more proficient you're going to become at it. And a lot of times these switch hitters, they end up not being very good from the right side just because they have fewer reps there. Now, somebody like Ozzy Albies is really interesting to me, because he's always been much, much better from the right side, the side he bats from less often. So if he just gave up switch hitting and became exclusively a right-handed hitter, how good could he be? I wonder. But I don't know that we'll ever find out, because he's made himself an all-star caliber player in spite of his struggles from the left side. But it makes me wonder.
I have not looked that up this year, and it's something I always notice too with Ozzy Albies. It's just super weird that he mashes left-handed pitching as a right-handed batter, and then the reverse for when he's batting left-handed against righties. And yeah, it's the same thing again this year, if I have the right numbers pulled up here correctly and make sure. But yeah, versus left-handed pitching, Ozzy Albies 945 OPS this year, 771 against right-handed pitching. It's one of the weirdest things that I've seen. But in spite of it, Ozzy Albies, he's still a really productive player. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but when we return, we're going to fire up the Dropometer here on Fantasy Baseball Today. Let's start things off with Reese Hoskins, who went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts on Monday. His batting average is down to .225, and he is batting .135 in June with a 63% fly ball rate. He's still 97% rostered, Scott. The Dropometer, 1 to 10 on Reese Hoskins.
I would say it's like a 4, 3. Let's say 3. It would have to be a pretty shallow league. I don't think it's unthinkable in like a points league where you just start one first baseman. But I mean, even in those shallower leagues, who's going to be out there at the position if you don't already have somebody else on your roster? CJ Crone, maybe. I don't know that I would totally want to live and die by CJ Crone.
Mm-hmm.
We know how streaky Hoskins can be. You know, he disappeared for like half of May and then came surging back at the end, ended up with pretty good numbers for the month. So I don't think he's going to salvage his June in that way, but July could be amazing. So I think he's the same guy he's always been. He's just cold right now.
It's frustrating because we often talk of Reese Hoskins as a strong head-to-head points player, Scott, but given his streakiness, that would actually lend him towards being a better roto player, just because it's okay. What does he accumulate by the end of the season? If it turns out to be 250 batting average with 30 plus homers, I don't really care how I got it in a roto league, but in a head-to-head points league, you kind of want that consistency week over week. And it's just really frustrating for Hoskins. Well, he does have really good plate discipline and he walks a lot. You need more consistency in a head-to-head league.
His walk rate this year is actually not that good, though. I'm trying to check on the month-by-month breakdown to see if it's improved.
Yeah, it was like 5 or 6% in April, and then it's been over 10% each of the next 2 months.
Yeah. So it has gotten better, but still 10% the last 2 months, a little over 10%. When in the past he's been like 15%. So he's not even. Yeah, I think your case for him being a better roto player is bolstered by that.
Would you drop him, Scott, for Joey Vado, who went 2 for 5 with his 9th home run on Monday? He's batting .265 with 4 homers in 19 games since returning from the IL.
I wouldn't, and I've been talking up Joey Vado as a waiver pickup a lot lately. I think we're at a point in the season, and I guess it's pretty normal. That you get in the dog days, and there's just not as much roster turnover to be found on the waiver wire. I know it's been a struggle finding players to write about in the almost daily waiver wire column, and coming up with new hitters to write about in the weekly sleeper, the sleeper hitters column for the upcoming week, the sleeper pitchers column for the upcoming week. Everything's just kind of stagnant because the players who deserve to be rostered and the players who don't deserve to be rostered, there's a clear delineation there that didn't exist so much in May and certainly not in April. There will, as attrition kicks in, there will be other surges in the waiver wire in September. September is usually pretty wild, not necessarily because of call-ups, but just because players are getting shut down I guess because pitching's weaker on the whole, you see these surprising hitter performances. But yeah, right now it's kind of blah. Everything's kind of. If Vado deserves to be picked up in your league, he's probably already been picked up.
Okay, but you wouldn't drop Hoskins for him.
No, I wouldn't.
Would you drop Hoskins for? I don't think he would be available, but Ryan Mountcastle, he's 81% rostered now, so that has surged up, and rightfully so. I mean, he added 2 more hits on Monday with his 14th home run of the season. His OPS is over 1,000 for the month of June. The strikeouts are way down too from where they were at earlier in the season. If for some reason he's available, Scott, would you drop Reese Hoskins for Ryan Mountcastle?
I wouldn't. No, but it has been. Yeah, I feel like I rushed to judgment on Ryan Mountcastle because it's obviously been a very strong month of June, not just in terms of him hitting 9 home runs for the month, but the strikeout rate, which was up over 30% for most of the season, has gotten back to normal, back around 25% for the month of June. And if obviously there are landscape changes that may be contributing to that. So if that's really the truer version of Ryan Mountcastle, I was probably too quick to judge him.
All right, let's talk about Gleber Torres now, because he went 0 for 4 with 2 more strikeouts on Monday. And I heard at some point during the Yankees broadcast that he was 4 for his last 49. I think he had 1 more at bat after that. So let's say Gleber Torres is 4 for his last 50. I looked at his last 110 games since the start of last season. Gleber Torres is batting at .240 with 6 homers, a .092 isolated power. That's slugging percentage minus batting average, a 5.6% home run to fly ball ratio. League average ISO is 160. League average home run to fly ball rate is 13.5%. Again, this is 110 games where he's batting .240 with 6 home runs. There was like a month-long stretch there where Gleber Torres looked like he was coming around. He was hitting for more batting average. The power still was not there. Someone actually brought up to me on Twitter, is there a chance that he's kind of dealing with the effects of COVID? I think he's had COVID twice. He had it last year. He had it this year, even after having a vaccination. I don't know. That's like pure speculation. But Scott, dropometer, Gleber Torres. The guy is lost.
Yeah, it hasn't been good. I don't really understand why he collapsed in this way. I mean, the power was Obviously, it was huge in 2019, but it was very much there in 2018 too. After he first got called up, strange. Doesn't make a lot of sense. You look at the hard hit rates, you look at the launch angle, the strikeout rate. I mean, they're not that different from those first 2 years Gleber Torres was in the majors, and so I've been holding out hope this whole time. But it's been a long time. It's been a long time. If he has a Jose Ramirez-like, dare I say, Kestenhira-like resurgence, I don't think that would surprise me. So, certainly in like a dynasty context, I'd be reluctant to do that. But in just a smaller redraft league, if it's to the point where you obviously can't have him in your lineup anymore, and once you get to that point with a player, it becomes difficult to hold on to him. So drop-o-meter, I will say, I'll say 6 for Gleber Torres.
6 for Gleber Torres. Now, after I reveal all that information, Scott, would you like to drop him for Willy Adames?
If it's somebody I have to start right now, yes.
Okay. A few other names that I'm looking at. Ahmed Rosario is 50% rostered. Probably wouldn't do it in a points league. If you play in a categories league and you need speed, I don't have an issue with it at this point, dropping Gleber Torres for Ahmed Rosario. Would you do it for Brendan Rodgers, Scott?
Again, I'd rather start Brendan Rodgers right now. So probably, yeah.
All right, let's hit a few more. I got some Kansas City Royals here on the drop-o-meter. Jorge Soler went 2 for 4 on Monday, but he's batting 185 on the season with a 607 OPS. He's still 58% rostered, so he's on someone's team. Do you think Jorge Soler can be universally dropped?
Yeah. Not holding out much home for him anymore.
So he is a 10 on the drop-o-meter.
Yeah, sure. 10, 9.
Yeah.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I was trying to find a reason why Jorge Soler has been this bad. The only thing that I could see is that his home run to fly ball ratio is 8.7% this year. That was up over 22% each of the past 2 seasons. So when he puts the ball in the air, it's just not flying over the fence as much as it used to. Could be related to the ball. Could be can't catch up to the sticky stuff. He's also been awful against fastballs this season. So I'm all right dropping Jorge Soler as well. Carlos Santana went 1 for 4 with his 13th home run on Monday. And oddly enough, he's done the reverse of many other hitters where he was awesome in April and then he's been really not so awesome since. So he was slugging .506 with an .869 OPS in April. Carlos Santana was. Since May 1st, he has a .352 slugging percentage and a .720 OPS. He's still 96% rostered, Scott. Carlos Santana, drop-o-meter.
Yeah, like a 3. Maybe I'd go lower than Reese Hoskins. Let's say Hoskins was a 3.5 and Santana's a 3. Definitely not in a points league. What makes it even curiouser is that normally he's somebody who heats up over the course of the season. Normally it's pretty much better his stats month by month. Which, maybe is reason to believe he has a big second half in store, but it makes that April even curiouser.
Curiouser. Is that a word, Scott?
I mean, it's an Alice in Wonderland. I don't know.
It is now. All right, so there were your drop-o-meter. Let's talk about a few of these waiver options. I already brought up Joey Vado, Scott. So you rank these 4 players that had pretty good games on Monday. Alec Boehm went 2 for 3 with a double, a walk, 2 RBI, and his 4th steal of the season. So it was a very good game. He's batting .333 in June. However, he has 0 home runs this month. So boom. 61% rostered. Joey Vado is 60% rostered. I mentioned he went 2 for 5 with his 9th home run. Hunter Renfroe had a double dong. He is batting .272 with 11 home runs and an .802 OPS. It's actually been a pretty good year for Hunter Renfroe. And then Ryan Mountcastle, who I already mentioned, 2 more hits, 14th home run. Scott, how would you rank those? Mountcastle, Renfroe, Vado, Alec Boehm.
I would go Vado, Mountcastle, Renfroe, who's been a very different hitter this year. Since April, actually batting about .300 and a much lower strikeout rate than in past years. So he's interesting. So yeah, Vado, Mountcastle, Renfroe. Big gap. Then Alec Bohm. Alec Bohm entered the day with a 590 OPS.
Yeah. It's not what you want to see.
No.
Hitting more line drives this month. He's got like a 30% line drive rate in June, but also comes with a 53% ground ball rate. So, man, he's got to find a way to lift that launch angle, Alec Bohm. You might want to talk to your buddy Vladimir Guerrero Jr. about that. Last point on Hunter Renfroe. Whenever he has lefties on the schedule, just make sure you get him in the lineup because he's batting 347 with an OPS over 1,000 against lefties this season and much worse against righties. So keep that in mind. Some deeper waiver options. Jonathan Dazzler went 2 for 4 with a double, a triple, and an RBI for the Colorado Rockies. He's batting 325. He's 19% rostered. Gregory Polanco is batting 199. Very bad, but he has 9 home runs and 8 steals on the season. So he is contributing some power and speed. Lamont Wade Jr. Last time I checked, he had 2 hits with his 6th home run of the season. That came off of Trevor Bauer. He's 4% rostered. Deep league, Scott, anything deeper than 12 teams, 14 teams or deeper. Daza, Polanco, Lamont Wade Jr. Any interest?
Yeah, I mean, they're right on the fringes in a 15-teamer. I just put in a bid for Polanco and won this weekend. I at least looked into Wade. Daza, I mean, if he continues to play as regularly as he has been, any hitter at Coors Field is interesting. But, the lack of home runs, the lack of stolen bases for as many plate appearances as he has, I think it's going to keep his value on the low end, even if he gets that playing time. So I don't see any of these 3 breaking through and becoming 12-team material.
I did pick up Daza in a 12-team roto league this weekend with 5 outfielders, just super desperate for an outfielder, and 7 games at home in Coors Field. It's already worked out well through 1 game, so hopefully he builds on that. But yeah, Daza, pretty good source of batting average. Not really going to give you much else. I mentioned at the top, I do have some trade talk that I want to get into, and just want to bring up the possibility, Scott, of selling high on Jared Walsh, because while he did go 2 for 4 with an RBI double on Monday, he's kind of got the same thing going on with Carlos Santana and JD Martinez, where he was awesome in April, and since May 1st, he's batting 260. Okay. 32% strikeout rate, 55% ground ball rate for Jared Walsh. His splits this season are also awful. 527 OPS versus left-handed pitching, a 1075 OPS against righties. So it's tough because I think the Angels lineup is going to get better as Mike Trout gets healthy, as Anthony Rendon gets healthier. So that should help with his counting stats. But these numbers are kind of concerning, Scott. And I would just throw Jared Walsh out there to see what I can get. If you can get like an awesome return because of what he's done this season.
Yeah, the overall numbers still look really good. So
yeah,
it's something you could look into. I agree. But yeah, it's concerning. I mean, he was a big strikeout guy in the minors. It's what made his September breakthrough last year so surprising. But that strikeout rate has just been climbing and climbing this year. And I'm concerned. I'm concerned how much, if he really has legs here as a every week fantasy starter.
Yeah, especially for a power bat too. It's exactly the opposite that you want to see. Strikeouts going up, ground balls going way up as well. So based on the season that Jared Walsh has had, when I checked earlier, I think he was ranked as a top 20 hitter overall in Roto. He's a 33rd ranked player in Roto leagues this year. So if you could just sell him based on that, something I would look into doing for Jared Walsh. How about on the other side, Scott? If you're looking to acquire a power bat, who would you rather target? Pete Alonso or Giancarlo Stanton? Both of them hit home runs on Monday. Pete Alonso went 2 for 3 with his 12th home run, and Giancarlo Stanton went 1 for 4 with his 14th home run. We haven't really talked much about either of these players recently, but specifically Alonso, I think he's a really good buy low candidate right now.
I would agree. His strikeout rate is not just it's low. It's low for a general hitter, not just somebody with his kind of power potential. It's 21% for the year. That's really impressive, and it's surprising his numbers aren't better as a result. And Stan, he continues to do his thing in between injuries. So Yeah, I mean, of the two, I'd rather have Alonso. I think Alonso is going to cost you more, perhaps significantly more. Stanton's still confined to the DH spot, to your utility spot in fantasy, so that makes him a difficult fit for some people. But yeah, if I'm looking for power, I think both of them are buy lows. Stanton might be easier. I would prefer Alonso.
I agree with that. And for Pete Alonso, he's hitting the ball harder than ever too. 93 mile per hour average exit velocity this season. That was never higher than 90.7 miles per hour, even in his breakout season back in 2019. And the strikeouts are way down for Pete Alonso. For Stanton, it seems like he has consciously lowered his launch angle. He's hitting more ground balls than ever before, but he's also hitting less pop-ups. So I don't know. And he's absolutely crushing the ball. He usually hits the ball hard, but like 97 mile per hour average exit velocity for Stanton, that is first in baseball among all hitters. That's just a ridiculous number. I would be okay trying to trade for either, but I'm with you, Scott. I do like Alonso a little bit more. Some leftovers from Monday. Wade Miley allowed 4 runs over 6 innings. He had 7 strikeouts with a season high 17 swinging strikes. It was Wade Miley's first non-quality start since June 6th. Eli Morgan for Cleveland. He was up against the Tigers, 5 innings, 4 runs, 4 strikeouts. He had a big swinging strike game his last time out. Took a step back here, only 6 swinging strikes. Gio Urshela went 2 for 3 with his 10th home run. He's having a very good June. He's batting .300 with an .867 OPS. Danny Duffy, not so great at the Red Sox. 3 1/3, 4 runs. Velocity actually looked fine for him. Garrett Richards, stinker. 5 2/3, 11 hits, 5 runs. I mean, Scott, the spin rates, fastball and slider, they were down 230 RPM. His curveball spin rate was down 518 RPM.
Well, it was like a 60 mile per hour curveball, right?
His velocity was way down. It was down 10 miles per hour on the pitch. So I don't know what was going on with Garrett Richards.
I saw a funny tweet from Chris Cotillo of masslive.com. Garrett Richards says he learned a changeup this week in about 3 days and has added a 60 mile per hour curveball. Complete reinvention.
What?
It's not that easy to do that, right? To do either of those things?
No, it's not.
I learned a changeup in 3 days.
Yeah.
Well,
he could be dropped across the board, right, Scott?
Back to the drawing boards. Yeah.
All right. Freddie Peralta, ho-hum, another great start. 6 innings, 2 runs, 4 walks, but 8 strikeouts. Kyle Hendricks against the Brewers on the other side, 6 innings, 4 runs allowed. His quality start streak ends at 8. 8 straight quality starts for Kyle Hendricks entering Monday. And I do have an update on Trevor Bauer, who was facing off against the Giants. 6 innings, 8 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. He did allow 2 more home runs. They were obviously both solo shots. And his spin rates, let's see where they're at. His fastball down 291 RPM, slider down 130, curve down 165. So, it's kind of similar to all these other top tier pitchers that are going through the same thing, Cole and Scherzer and Corbin Burns, but Trevor Bauer still found a way to be really productive against a strong Giants lineup. So
I mean, yes, but it was a 1.5 whip and he gave up 2 home runs. So how effective was he really? I don't know. Not as effective. Like it continues a trend of Trevor Bauer not looking all that dominant anymore. Still good, but not. I don't know that he's ace material in fantasy. I don't know. I still have him as a second rounder in the redraft for the rest of the season. Late second rounder.
Yeah. I mean, if he gives me something close to 6 innings, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts with, obviously not a 1.5 whip, but like,
yeah, sure,
a 1.2.
That's a 3 ERA. That's a good K rate. Yeah, it's a good K rate. But it's what are his numbers over his past few starts? It would take a while to figure out because it's not going to have this latest start factored in. But Definitely not what you think of as ace caliber. Let's see if I can pull it up. So let's just do since the start of June 6th. So I think that was the start of his spin rates dropping. A 3.55 ERA, not counting this latest start. 4 starts, a 3.55 ERA. And what is this whip? It would be a 1.42 whip in those 4 starts. Good K rate. 33 strikeouts and 25 and a third innings. But what's interesting is even his last 2 starts in May were pretty bad. In fact, his last 2 starts in May were worse than any of these starts in June. Arguably, there was one really bad one in June, I guess.
I wonder, now that you bring that up, Scott, because Garrett Cole's this recent stretch I brought up on yesterday's podcast, it's been an 8-start stretch for Garrett Cole. It also started mid-May. So maybe they were kind of like tipped off to like, all right, something might be happening here with the league. So you might want to like, taper back a little bit. So we weren't paying as close attention to spin rates in mid-May for obvious reasons. But yeah,
these 2 guys' fates are forever linked.
That's right.
They're bound together. It's amazing.
Yeah, it definitely is. We will continue to monitor both of those guys. The call to the pen from Monday, some bullpen updates for the Rockies. Daniel Bard got his 11th save of the season. For the Nationals, Brad Hand recorded the final 5 outs for his 17th save. Raisel Iglesias with the Angels picked up his 14th save. And since May 1st, he's got a 3.04 ERA and a 0.93 whip. So Iglesias has been near elite closer. For the Red Sox, Matt Barnes got his 17th save. For the Orioles, Cole Sulser recorded 5 outs between the 4th and the 6th innings. And then Paul Fry came in the 8th with the game tied, pitched a clean inning, and then to face the top of the order. They tried to keep him out there for the 9th to work his 2nd straight inning. And then he allowed 3 hits, 3 runs. It became a save opportunity. Adam Plutko, remember that guy? He used to be like a swingman pitcher for Cleveland. He came in and he got the final 2 outs, picked up his first save of the season. So I don't know if that brings you any closer to figuring out Baltimore's bullpen, Scott, but I do think it's Paul Fry.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows? He's fumbled his opportunities as infrequent as they've been. I think that's 2 in a row where Paul Fry, I mean, he wasn't technically going to get a save in this one, but he had a chance to save his own win, so to speak, and couldn't come through. So I don't know. Cole Sulser's actually gotten a couple saves.
Yeah.
So, he worked early in this game. So I don't know. I don't know how much on the radar he is. I don't know how high on the radar he is necessarily, but it could be anyone. The save opportunities haven't been frequent enough for us to say with any real certainty what the Orioles plan to do, and Fry keeps blowing it. I did have a chance when you were doing that to go back and look at Trevor Bauer's spin rates from those last 2 April starts, and there was no drop in spin rate then. In fact, his spin rate was actually up quite a bit in that May 31st start, where he allowed 3 home runs and struck out only 5 in 6 2/3 innings.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's good to know. It is good to know. To stream or not to stream, we'll start with Tuesday. Jamison Tyone versus the Angels. Andrew Heaney at the Yankees. Caleb Smith at the Cardinals. Zach Davies at the Brewers. Tony Santillan versus the Padres. And Chris Flexen at the Blue Jays. And I will just point out that the Yankees this year, I thought they were much worse against lefties, but it feels like every time they face a lefty, they are awful. So I was going to use that in support of Andrew Heaney, but you know how inconsistent he is.
Yeah, I do. I think Heaney, Tyone, and Smith, Caleb Smith, are all fine if you need somebody, but I'm not dying to activate any of them.
All right. How about for Wednesday? We have Vladimir Gutierrez versus the Padres, Martin Perez versus the Royals. I wrote Caleb Smith. There's no way that that's right because I have him for Tuesday. Kwang Hyun Kim versus the Diamondbacks, Jake Arrieta at the Brewers, and John Gray versus the Pirates.
John Gray looked good in that first start back from the IL. Pirates are obviously an easy matchup. It is at home, but John Gray's always performed pretty well at Coors Field. So I think that's probably my favorite pick here. But again, I'm not thrilled to start any of these guys. If you're making me pick another, maybe Vladimir Gutierrez versus San Diego.
I know Martin Perez is not very good, but also the Royals are not very good. So I don't.
That is a argument that can be made for basically any pitcher facing the Royals. Yes,
that is right. So the reason I got mixed up is because Riley Smith is actually starting that day for Arizona, and I would not try and stream him against anybody, not even the Royals. Let's wrap up with Team Name Tuesday. These are from Nick, USDA Choi's Cuts.
Choi, okay, like G-Man Choi.
Yes, this is apparently referencing Choi's beef grade and G-Man Choi's swing.
Oh, okay. I think with a good GIF as your team logo.
Yeah.
Him taking a nice healthy cut.
Yeah.
It might work.
Next one is Woodruff Woodpeckers.
All right. That's not bad.
And his last point is not a team name, but is Scott going to do more All That's Fit for 8-Bits? Season 1 was great.
Yeah, I would like to. I'm not going to lie. It was a lot of work. And each episode only got a couple hundred downloads.
Yeah.
So it took the wind out of my sails a little bit. And obviously, there wasn't baseball until July of last year, which also helped season 1 come together. But I haven't given up on it. I hope to revisit it later. Just have not had any time at all since this season started to even think about working on it.
Yeah. Well, we've all got to start somewhere, Scott, but who knows? Maybe after the baseball season, you jump back into it. This one's from Ben, Aquila and the Bee-Doo. Bee-Doo? Aquila and the Bee-Doo. That is a reference apparently to the movie Aquila and the Bee. I've never seen it, but
I've never heard of it.
Like 1,000 great movies that I haven't seen. So just add it to the list. This one's from Gabe. With both Starling Marte and Ketel Marte on my team, I'm going with the Super Marteo brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Scott, who's your go-to character if you play, I don't know, like Mario Kart or Mario Party or something?
Well, I don't. You see, I have a video game podcast, but I don't have a lot of experience playing. The Mario Kart game that I by far have the most experience playing is Mario Kart 64. And I don't know if they all work this way. And really, I just have experience playing battle mode. And so I don't know if you remember in Mario Kart 64, if you were one of the hulking characters, Bowser or Wario or Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
You could destroy an opponent's balloon just by running into them. So that seemed like a good advantage to me, better than speed. So I would usually be Bowser. I like the way his spiky back looked. And I loved Bowser's role in Super Mario RPG. So I feel a fondness for Bowser just because that him fighting alongside Mario in Super Mario RPG was just like a mind-blowing event to me.
Wow. Spoiler alert for those who haven't played it for like the 30 years that it's been out. That's a super underrated video game. That was for the Super Nintendo, right, Scott?
I think it's well rated.
Oh, is it?
Super Mario RPG. I think people recognize it as a classic. Yeah.
It definitely is. I'm there with you. This one is from Peter. Cool and the Gagne.
Wow. Gagne. Is that Eric Gagne?
Yeah. Sure.
That's a throwback. I mean, Chad Cool. Okay. All right.
This one's from Tim. Break me off a piece of that. Lars Newt Bar.
Yes. There needs to be more Newt Bar theme names. The impulse buy at the checkout line at an IKEA is the Newt Bar.
Is there anything
You've been there all day? Your stomach's growling. You can't resist the Newt Bar.
Gosh, you ever buy like one of those $1 hot dogs in IKEA?
I haven't, but I bet it would be satisfying.
I don't think you should do it, Scott. This one's from Bo. The Trevor ending story.
Come on, man.
It's a great one. Oldie but a goodie. My closer situation is grave, man.
Oh gosh, that's bad.
Will Smith and DJ Jazzy Chisholm.
All right. That's cool. I like that one. That's the best one today.
Were you a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air fan growing up?
Not really, but I recognize. I know. I get that reference.
Yeah. Oh, I loved Fresh Prince growing up. Smell that? The odor is gross, man. From the Wanderers to the Walls.
All right. They're both on the same team in real life. I like that.
That's right.
It works.
Put my shirt and tie-on.
Oh, I kind of like that one, actually.
These are from Nick. 360 No Scope. I think that's a video game reference. But,
all right. I'll take your word for it.
Alfred Hitchcock's Verdugo.
Like Vertigo? I mean, that's how I thought you pronounced his name at first, was Vertigo. So it would work better if that was actually the pronunciation, but that's fine.
Last one, Wanderlust.
Sure.
These are from a different Nick. A Fish Called Wander.
Okay.
It's a Wonderful Life.
All right.
The Wander Years.
Sure.
Wonderwall.
I get it.
Stevie Wonder.
All right.
From Jeremy.
It's a versatile name, apparently.
From Jeremy, Mr. Bombastic. That was my, I guess that was my Shaggy impression.
Yeah.
From Ashley. I don't know if I should say this one.
No, let's skip Ashley.
All right. I had a back and forth with her. I'm like, is this a reference to something or is it just, I forget it. From Colin, Catch Me If You Canna.
I mean, there's no improving can I get a what for Canna's name and a team name, but sure.
These are all movie references. So Scott, I'll let you guess at the end how many of these movies I've seen. Chevler's List.
Shepler's List, you said? Yes.
Yes. Citizen Canning.
All right.
Pine Tar Wars, The Umpire Strikes Back.
It's too much, but fine.
Panic's Labyrinth.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of a stretch.
Escape from Alvarez.
Sure.
Okay. Now your bonus is that you get to guess how many of these movies I've seen.
I'm going to guess 0 because that would be totally
Wow, Scott,
in character.
You have no faith in me, huh?
I don't.
Actually, I think the answer was 0, but now hold on a second. Which Star Wars is that? Oh God, I'm gonna get so many emails about this.
Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that, right?
I don't know. Nothing would surprise me.
That's one of the OG ones. Yeah, I've seen this. I saw it when I was growing up. I haven't watched it. I've seen one of them. Ha!
I think I've only seen 2, to be honest.
All right. I mean, these are actually pretty well-known movies, so I think we both need to step it up. For Scott and Frank, thank you all for listening and watching Fantasy Baseball today. We'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.